Greetings and welcome to Open Lotus Wisdom. My name is Johnny. I've been reading these cards for over 20 years. They're not tarot, they're their own system. They're a little bit more literal, a lot more grounded, and very practical for everyday life. Today, we're going to do a reading on spiritual growth. Let's not hesitate. Let's go ahead and transition to the cards, set our focus and our intention, and let the cards speak to us. Here we go. We will be doing a 9-card grid reading, so focus on spiritual growth. And here is our spread. We're going to begin with the rows across, then we'll go down, and then we'll do the diagonals. So at first, we're going to look at our first row, the mountain, house, and stork. The mountain here is indicating your spiritual development, and it began in the past, which, well, let's see, I would say there may have been an obstacle or perhaps a serious life experience where when your growth was requiring you to be persistent. The house next to it, this is what carried you forward. It gave you stability, dependable foundation. It also is, I guess you could say, family influences, perhaps established practices, or it could be the desire to feel spiritually safe on a continued spiritual journey. The stork, now those were past. That's your past. The stork is here in the above position, and that's what you're totally conscious of. And you recognize that a change right now is necessary from what happened in the past. So the stork is movement, and you're consciously aware that you need to revive what you have done and continue to learn and not be confined by what may have felt familiar in the past. What we're seeing here with these 3 cards is a past with a solid but restrictive type pattern. And in that, it actually created a foundation that you can use now to make meaningful change. The mountain and the house show that your beliefs have been deeply rooted, perhaps because they help to endure something very important to you. And the stork, it's not asking you to discard that foundation at all with shaking things up. It's asking you to let it evolve. So consciously, you need to distinguish between tradition that still supports you and habits that only preserve that past. We're going to look at the second row, the ring, the fish, and the man. The ring represents you. The fish is the present, and the man is the challenge, in the challenged position. Here you're approaching spiritual growth through your commitment. You may be looking for a practice, relationship, or a guiding principle that you can really devote yourself to rather than exploring without any direction at all. The fish is your present, and it sits in the center and carries a lot of weight there, that center card. Your growth is connected with abundance, value, resources, and really to the flow of your inner life. It could be highlighting dreams, which could offer meaningful material for reflection. It doesn't have to be treated as literal predictions. It's just something to reflect on. The man in that challenge position, it could be a masculine influence or authority figure. Could be independence or self-direction. It doesn't really speak to another person's private motives. Here we're looking at your growth and how it could be affected by someone else. Like their approval or teachings or expectations. And expectations, if you notice on the front of my first screen, it speaks of be expectant and hold no expectations. That would be a good principle right there. With these three cards, your cards, it is reflecting to you that you're ready to make a deeper commitment and that you need to take into consideration what truly enriches you before giving a commitment away. When you're on a spiritual path, it should expand your sense of inner capacity, not make you dependent upon one person's authority. And that man in the challenge position could be representing someone significant. Or it may equally reflect your own need to become more self-directed. Either way, the central lesson here is looking at how to choose commitments that support your insight, your energy, your practical well-being. The ring here is that bond. It'll bind you to what matters. And the fish ask you whether that bond is genuinely nourishing for you. We're going to pull this all together once we look at each line and row and column. The clover is in the below position. Then we have the bear and future influence, and the book and the outcomes. This is about what's beneath the surface. Could be like a subconscious. It's a part of you that already knows. It's your subconscious. So your subconscious may already know that your difficulties could be surmounted, and the spiritual growth does not always have to come through struggle. Somewhere deep inside, you know that. It doesn't have to be a struggle. The bear in your future influence, the bear is about strength and courage, and it speaks to something substantial developing. You may find that you become more protective of your time, your energy, your beliefs, and your spiritual boundaries. This influence favors confidence rather than favoring force. This is about becoming confident. The book and the outcome is speaking to you about continued learning and gradual revelation. As you learn, those revelations will come. It's important knowledge. Right now, it's not disclosed. Not because anybody's holding it from you. However, it needs to be researched, experienced, and understood over time. Looking at these three cards together, an underlying sense of hope begins to grow. And it's growing into real inner strength, and the strength that opens a whole new period of study and discovery. The clover softens that process. And it helps with the understanding of not everything needs to be through hardship. The bear is the more confident. The book points toward your learning, and it unfolds gradually. The outcome, well, there's not one final spiritual answer. You'll learn a discerning relationship with knowledge itself. When we go down the column, mountain, ring, and clover, the weight of the earlier experience, it established why commitment matters so much. And you've learned the meaningful growth often it takes some endurance. That endurance is what gets you through and over the obstacles. The ring, it shows your instinct to respond to difficulty, forming a bond, or committing more deeply to a path. And the clover, that's the quieter invitation to trust, remain open, and allow the process to unfold. You know, those past obstacles, they may have taught you that spiritual progress must be earned through constant effort, that belief has strengthened your dedication, but it may have also made you suspicious of anything that feels simple or joyful. The clover suggests that relief is not a sign that you are avoiding growth. Sometimes the next step appears when you loosen the grip and notice the opening in front of you. Then you accept the support the middle column, house, fish, and bear. The house is in the past influence, and it provided that foundation for you and for this line here, and your ideas about security, belonging, what feels trustworthy to continue. And it helped you influence you with how you receive spiritual guidance. The fish, that center card that everything is flowing around, it asks you whether your current practices are increasing and supporting your inner resources. Remember, that's flow, health exchange, and recognizing what holds real value for you. The bear is where the strength is and what's worth preserving. It indicates a growing ability for you to stand firmly in your own spiritual authority and to protect the foundation that you are building. These three cards are telling you that you are moving from inherited or familiar security into a more personal understanding of spiritual values, and from there into greater strength. The fish is the whole turning point. Rather than accepting something because it is established, you are learning, hey, what is supporting vitality? What's supporting me? What is giving me sustainable growth? As your discernment develops, you will feel more grounded and less easily influenced by outside pressure. The last column is a stork, the man, and the book. Above, challenge, and outcome. You're already aware that change is underway, and something in your spiritual understandings is ready to move beyond where you are today or its previous form that you knew. The man, the challenge, is referring to the change that may be complicated by a particular person, authority, or it could be just your own desire to have a firm answer and act decisively on that answer. The book on the outcome, it'll slow down urgency, and it will take you to research and investigate. What you'll be researching and investigating what you don't fully know yet. And that learning is much more useful for you than any kind of premature type certainty. This is about experiencing the knowledge that you acquire. Basically, for this particular three cards, you know that change is needed. The challenge could be deciding on who or what should guide it, this change. The man in that challenge, well, that kind of is pointing to perhaps a teacher. It could be a partner, and it could actually be a part of you. The book is advising against just handing over your judgment because somebody else is speaking so wonderfully or confidently. You always have to do that research. Thoughtful questioning is a good way to look at things, and most assuredly, patience. Then your direction will be clearer as you start to learn, rather than forcing an immediate conclusion. We live in such a world where we want everything now, and certain things in life take time. Time and patience. Let's look at our diagonals: mountain, fish, and book. The mountain is sort of sending you on the path of a serious experience. It requires the patience that I was mentioning. And in the past, you had a lot of unanswered questions. The fish will turn that emphasis toward the now and start to grow and become more fruitful in those answers. Right now, your present task is just to reclaim the value from what you have lived through. The book is the process that just leads you into deeper study and discoveries, and none of that can be rushed. That's where you're going to have to be patient. You're going to have to reflect on what you read and learn. That diagonal is really talking about moving from an obstacle to enriched learning and understanding. The stork, fish, and clover are last diagonal and 3 cards to read. The stork that's what you consciously recognize. And what you're sensing is that spiritual life that is becoming active again. The fish connects that awareness with nourishment. And what you're looking to nourish will need change to create a healthier flow of your energy, and really not something simply novel. It requires going deeper into the understanding. The clover is in that below position, and remember, that's something that's could be referred to as your subconscious, like beneath the surface. And that's where your hope and where you're receiving and receptive to moving forward now. Your conscious desire for change and your deeper hope are working in the same direction with these 3 cards. There may be a little contradiction between what you know and what lies beneath that knowing. But that fish will show you how the process becomes more meaningful when you allow the flow and restore your energy. your creativity. That line favors movement rather than doing a dramatic spiritual overhaul. It's just about responding to the movement. Doesn't have to be dramatic. The central theme is learning to make spirituality meaningful without giving away your authority. That's very key. Your main challenge is going to be discerning the proper role of your teachers, the people who influence you. That's your challenge. I would say that your clearest support in this reading was the clover and the bear, giving hope and openness and small opportunities to grow into something stronger with confidence. The one thing that you need to kind of monitor yourself on is thinking that it has to be hard. It doesn't have to be hard. It can just flow through the process. Don't make it harder than it has to be. There's not a fixed destination that you're headed to, right? It's a process. You're going to be learning, continued learning and experiencing, and you can remain curious without becoming totally ungrounded or making some kind of commitment that closes you off. A question that I would leave you with today would be, which spiritual commitment do you have that genuinely strengthens and nourishes you? And which one are you maintaining mainly because it feels familiar or has an authority behind the words? Which one strengthens and nourishes you, and which one are you just maintaining because it feels familiar or has authority behind it? Always remember to be kind to yourself with gratitude. If this reading meant something to you, or you know someone who may enjoy it, share it with them. Feel free, subscribe, give a thumbs up. In the meantime, thank you for joining me at Open Lotus Wisdom for the spiritual growth reading, and I will see you in the next reading.